About your experience.
I don't have a lot of details. I just know I wasn't a good place. I was, I mean, I suppose I was probably over in Ireland or England. Um, it was gray, it was damp, I was very alone, very unfulfilled, had no voice. It was like I was a cog in the wheel. I was in a playground. I might have been in my late teens, and it was like I was just put there, like just go do that. Like again, no choice, no. And then maybe a room full of people. It was like almost like I was sent to a convent because I refused to marry. So it's like that was it. If you're not gonna, marry the person we want you to, then you need to go to a convent, and then just do whatever they say. The room I lived in was like bunk beds, very thin mattress. You had nothing, you had no personal belongings. Just very unhappy. How I died, I think I just faded away, I think just in my sleep. And I never, thinking about whatever, I never tapped into my guides, I never saw the palace. Just very uncomfortable, and I felt sick. I still feel nauseous.
Good, something
Still
to tap
don't feel
on.
good.
We will tap on that in a second. All right, so interesting that, so it was Ireland?
It was Ireland.
Yeah, and that's where your heritage comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I went and moved to Ireland, like back in 2000 for a few years. I lived in London when I was like 30. I moved to London for a year. I've always been drawn, whenever when I first backpacked through there at 18, just always felt, and maybe some of the family heritage, my grandmother being one of 13 on a farm where, women, and one of her sisters became a nun. And back then they just shipped away. They couldn't have contact with the family. It's like the Catholic Church just took them and took her to Asia. She didn't really see her family for many, many years. And then I guess that my grandmother emigrated to America and started her life here. So I don't know. I don't know if, when I go back there and see how simple and they didn't really, women just didn't really have, I don't know if that brings, there's something there for me.
Yeah, so women didn't have a voice and they felt they were told what to do.
Yeah, yeah.
How does that relate to you, this life, do you feel?
Well, I think in preparing for this in the workbook.
Just tap here where you talk.
Just how, those moments when I feel like I still don't have a voice, it's I get very upset with certain people. Mainly through my work. I work in a very male-dominated industry, and I sometimes question why I went to such a I mean, so many industries are male-dominated, right? So there's always, a couple of men that just, I feel like they don't want to hear from me. They don't want to hear, and yet I'm in a position that I'm supposed to be contributing. And it just wears me out, and I just don't want that anymore.
Great, so that's what we'll be doing the tapping session on, and that's why your guides took you to that lifetime, because it's where you didn't have a voice as a woman, particularly you didn't have a voice, and that's where the blockage is that's holding you back in this lifetime. So be very grateful that your guides took you there, because that's the lifetime we need to unblock so that it's not a blockage for you now in this lifetime. Yay.
So,
good.
Yeah, and I think just even, I mean, I'm in therapy, not intensive therapy, but it had started coming up within even my own family. My father, my brothers.
And
something my husband Jeff has observed, how they didn't really, as much as I did for my family, to my dad's final day. I'm now the executor, and I'm still having to do everything.
Mm.
And never getting that acknowledgement
Mm.
from my older brothers.
Yep.
Of what I've accomplished in this life as a woman in business.
And that's why there's also that need to prove yourself as a woman in business, in a man's world. There's that need to have a voice and to prove yourself. So definitely we'll work through that. And having the soul contracts of having a father who didn't listen and brothers who don't acknowledge you. It's all part of the learning and the soul contract that you chose to have to step through. So it's all being shown to us. So beautiful. We'll do a tapping session on that shortly. Great. Tell us about your mining the Akash experience.
It was really just one life. I didn't really go back to the, I kind of stayed in the one.
Yep.
Which, I guess it was like 1940s New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a writer, but I was maybe for a newspaper or something, but I was kind of the go-to girl, you know, and I there was like chaos on the street, so I was like reporting, I was gathering information, but I had a safe place to go, a home, a nice apartment. It was a very healthy environment. I didn't live by myself. There might have been a few people, but it was all about communication and that, and kind of almost to educate people about what was going on. So it was like the end of the war, or there's like a lot of news coming out, and it was just trying to help calm people, educate people. I don't think I lived a long life. I didn't see myself dying, but I just felt very fulfilled.
Great. So it's that feeling fulfilled and living your purpose and being the go-to person. Notice how it's almost the opposite for what we just worked on. You know, you go into the go-to person who didn't communicate and didn't give you the stuff, and here you are in this lifetime, you are the go-to person. You are giving all the information. And you are the peace and the calmness amongst the chaos. And you are fulfilled in what you're doing. So that's an experience that you can now bring in and tap into and remember and activate, and this is me, this is who I am, this is who I've been, this is who I am. Wonderful. So interesting